Hello and welcome to Smitty's. I am a wood cutting fanatic who loves to run a chainsaw. I run alcohol chainsaws, ported chainsaws, I race chainsaws, and I even run the occasional vintage. Now remember, I cannot do this without you. You're everything to the channel, so please remember, subscribe, give that thumbs up, leave that comment. Today, we are going to have a lot of fun. So, how you doing? Hey, today's video is going to be all about the 385. You see, during all these videos, we had kind of a, or I should say, I had kind of a hidden agenda behind the video series. And today, I'm going to show you what it was about. And, you know, I'm going to kind of reveal what was going on and kind of that way because... Well, that's because, you know, during the whole process, you got to see everything develop up to a certain point. You got to see me experiment with different things. But along the way, I also showed you the clues of, you know, some different things. And, you know, I don't know if anybody picked up on it. So today's going to be all about revealing everything, showing you what we'd learned running that 385 and... you know, maybe some of you will enjoy this. Now, if you missed out on any of it, the whole thing is in a playlist. So just look up my playlists and you'll see the one for the 385 and just watch all the videos or go back and watch them again. And you might be able to pick up on it. But you're also, you know, now I also have pretty much every saw I build. Pretty much everything I do is in a playlist. So if you ever see me run a saw and you want to see more on it, look through the playlists and, you know, you might find a few more videos on that particular saw. Because every time I run a saw, I put it on a playlist. And sometimes the one saw will have multiple playlists. So, you know, it might be included with 3 different playlists or something. But, you know, it's something to... kind of explore there, or another chapter of my channel that a lot of folks don't realize because, you know, you might see one video on a saw and you like that saw, but then you don't see it again for a while. Well, if you go to the playlist, you can go back and watch all the other videos that I've already created on that saw. And, you know, sometimes you'll see me make mistakes. Sometimes, you know, there's all sorts of things. And, you know, sometimes you can learn a few things just by watching some of the videos that I made before. But on with this. Let's get on to this 385. You see, the whole time we were doing this, we were watching the tack. We were checking the spark plug for signs on how the tune was. We were experimenting with different things, different possibilities of what might be going on, where my issues might be, and all that stuff. But if you remember the first cutting video, 28-inch bar and a big piece of oak, the saw ran great. Pulled with lots of power. But then as time developed, we started looking for more RPM and stuff. And things started to go in south on us. There's a reason. So here recently I showed you a video where the spark plug, I showed you the spark plug a second time, which you got to see about where you know, the saw is tuned based off the spark plug. But I was also giving you the tack readout. You see, the first cuts we were making on that saw was probably around 12 to 12.3, you know, on the RPM with that 28-inch bar. Where later on, we were able to achieve 13,000 RPM, but it wasn't reliably. So we did get it to 12.8, a little bit better. You know, it was running at 12.8 better than it was at 13, but, you know, it's kind of a clue. You see, we were able to get it to a higher RPM, more power, more of that peak power at a leaner tune. But the saw started misbehaving. And if you look back in the beginning, at the earlier spark plug check, the spark plug was much darker. So even though your plug is brown, you want to pay attention to how dark of a brown it is. More fuel is more power, but you do lose RPM. And that's where it gets tricky. You see, you don't want to mistakenly lean it out and run it like that, because that's where the most RPM is that you're achieving. That is not typically the best spot for the engine to run at. The best spot for this particular saw is probably around 12.5 right now, because after I put the stack filter and the velocity stack and the stack filter and all that stuff on there, it was able to achieve a few more RPM, but I shouldn't have taken it up to 12.8 or 13 or whatever. It was just too lean. The sweet spot now is at about 12.5. So a lot of the issues that you've been seeing where the saw needs more torque and stuff, a lot of that was coming from the tune. I tried to reveal it as much as possible without actually saying it, but we could tell all along that the tune was lean. And I was hoping somebody out there in YouTube land would pick up on it, but I didn't see any comments on it. So, well, as of yet, there might be a couple of comments that do pop up here, but the saw was tuned a little lean. So don't always tune for the most RPM using your tack and all that stuff. I personally do not believe in using a tack to tune. I believe in using the spark plug. The spark plug will tell you everything you need to know. So when it's really dark black or whatever, you're too rich. And when you start leaning it out, it'll start turning into more of a really dark chocolatey brown. And then it'll start going to a lighter and lighter and lighter shade of brown until eventually it gets into like this silvery white. If you ever get to a silvery white, you are way too lean. Even if it's on a light shade of brown, it's still a little lean. So you want it to be a little darker in the brown shades. I would suggest darker than a cardboard box. It's where you're going to get the most torque and the most power. It's never going to be at the most RPM. Never. It's going to be where the saw wants to run the best. It'll run cooler because you're getting more fuel through it. See, the fuel not only, helps run the engine or whatever, but it also is part of your lubrication system, and it's part of what, it's like your coolant. So the more fuel you're pushing through the system, the cooler it will run. And you could see on that 385 the whole time there, towards the end, it got lean, it got warm, it started misbehaving on us. So even after I leaned it out, it was fine for the first 2 or 3 cuts, but after that it started misbehaving. It didn't want to come off of idle, or didn't want to come out of the cut and return to idle just right and everything. It was just a little lean. I even tried to experiment with possibly being a pre-ignition issue, and it wasn't. In fact, it actually ran a little worse with a colder plug. Mostly at startup, like the first startup and cold start, it was having trouble firing it or whatever. It was trying to get like a misfire whenever I first started it cold. So it definitely needs the hotter plug, but it was worth trying to see if possibly it would be a pre-ignition issue, which it wasn't. It was definitely just a lean running saw issue. So kind of a little learning lesson there with that saw is to, don't tune for the most RPM, tune to what your spark plug tells you to do. The spark plug will never steer you wrong, where using a tack, it can steer you wrong. More RPM is not the way to go. It never is. Now, some folks will do that and hope that they can race, try to get those few RPMs for a race, because you're only going to make 3 cuts. Heck, I do that. So, I did that this last time around, like that Bellhopper 372. I had that saw tuned for, best longevity, the best power and all that stuff for the longest time, showed a bazillion videos on it. But then just before the race, I leaned her out, squeezed more RPM out of it, and made my 3 cuts. I did that for a reason, and lots of us do. But I do not suggest tuning your saw that way long term. You will eventually hurt your engine. So tuning that lean is never a good idea. You will always do better a little bit with a little bit more fuel in the long run. You will be able to produce more torque. You'll be able to produce all sorts of things, and you'll just enjoy it better. You'll be able to dog in better. You'll be able to do all sorts of stuff better. So don't just rely on the most RPM. Now, I did learn a few other things with the 385. So I am able to tune to about 12.5. That is actually where 12.3 to 12.5, I'll say that. That's where the saw actually performs best at. It does not start misbehaving lean. It has tons of torque. I just didn't show you that stuff because of what the video series I was creating. I did not want to, show you that stuff. So knowing that the saw tunes out to about 12.3, 12.5 with the tune that I have, I shouldn't have to tweak that saw very much to get a little bit more out of it. It should really just be very small tweaks. I don't need to worry about going in there and making any major modifications. So I'm just going to take that 25,000 squish, knock it down to 20. Yeah, we're going to go for the small percentages, but I might go ahead and take an initial 5 or 10. I'm thinking 10 thousandths out of the combustion chamber to bump the compression up a little. And you do that on top of the adjustment and everything. I should be a total of 15 thousandths off of the base. So I think that little bit, we should see a difference. I'm thinking compression should bump up to right around 200 PSI. It should. So hopefully with those modifications and everything, it should turn out better. I may take a little bit more. We'll see when I get the saw tore down and get into it. You never know. I might change my mind. Now, I'm thinking I'm also going to make a little bit of a tweak to the uppers. Nothing major. I'm just going to probably try to change the way they flow and just give them a little bit more of an upward slope to help push that charge and try to get it to wrap around the back of the cylinder a little bit better. I want to try to push the torque a little higher in the RPM range. So those are the only 2 modifications I'm planning on doing. It should not take long. It's actually most of the work is going to be tearing the saw down and doing the bearings and all that stuff. The actual changes I'm going to do to the cylinder are very minor, not going to take that long. I'll be able to knock them out in one evening, and then I'll be tinkering at the rebuild. I just got to clean my bench up. I got parts and tools and stuff scattered everywhere here. I need to get this cleaned up so that I can take that saw and just sprawl everything out in front of me, you know what I mean? So I can work on it. Now, I have done a few other tweaks to that saw, like this is the coil. I put in a 372 unlimited coil right off the start. I didn't even try it with the original coil. So there's little things like this that I did during the build to take it to where it is. So, I did do other things than what I showed you. I wanted to kind of put this video out there, give you guys a chance that if you want to, you can go back and watch some of those videos again and kind of see how it progresses. But pay attention to how it ran the first time as to the other times. And look at the difference in the color of the spark plug. You'll see the first time was much darker, and then as time went on, you can see the spark plug changed to a lighter shade of brown, and you can see the way it was behaving. Didn't quite have as much torque, but we were able to achieve more RPM and all that sorts of stuff. So, kind of a little hidden aspect there to the video series. I hope somebody out there picked up on it, but you know, there was some time between the videos, and maybe not. So, you know, but anyway, hey, I hope you enjoyed this little one, and we'll catch you on the next one. Later.